We all know that in the entire world, a human to survive, the most important aspect is air. We need to breathe. If you don't take air, if you don't get breathe, you cannot survive. After air, the most important element on the earth, what we need is water. So that is the main concept of our lesson today, that is water resources. This is given as the third part of our geographical text. Now, in order to understand about the water resources, let us try to throw light on what are the important aspects of water. We all know that 3/4 of the earth is filled with water. 3/4 of the earth is filled with water. Among all the planets in the solar system, we have nearly 9 planets, and among these 9 planets, the most favorable planet for the human beings to survive, and the availability of water, where we have more availability of water, is the planet Earth. On the Earth, we have nearly 71% of the entire Earth filled with water. Though we all know that 71% of the earth, or 3 parts of the earth out of the 4 parts, are filled with water bodies only. But still we listen to the news like we have scarcity of water, we have non-availability of water in some parts, we have people walking miles and miles to get water in order to fulfill their daily needs. So what is the situation, or why, though earth is filled with 3/4 amounts of parts with water, today also we have scarcity of water? Why we are getting the news that people are not available or accessible to drinking water? What is the fact that is lying behind us, which is not allowing us to understand the actual scenario of availability of water and meeting the requirements of the people? There is a big gap between the availability of water for us and between the reachable and usage of the water by the people. 3/4 of the earth is filled with water, we all know that. Coming to the availability of the people, the water, or water available to the people, is not so much freely in all parts of the world. But earth is also known as blue planet or watery planet, because earth is having huge resources of water. Then what makes to say the people, or the people, environmentalists, archaeologists, or the scientists, to say that in very soon, by 2025, many parts in the world will be getting added into the list of the places where we have scarcity of water. So what is the hidden bar which is not allowing us to see the actual picture of availability of water to the people and the availability of water resources on the earth? In this unit, we shall throw light on all the possible factors of explosion of water. At the same time, what are the difficulties that people are facing? What are the situations that made people to find out or to come into this kind of situation? First, let us find out what is the actual statistics of water availability on the earth. We all know that 96.5% of available water is present in the form of oceans. Suppose the available 3/4 parts of the entire water body is being characterized into 100% equally, then in that 96.5% means the lion's share of the available water on the earth planet is stored in the form of oceans. We all know that in the planet of earth we have many oceans. The 5 major oceans which we all know are Pacific Ocean, Atlantic Ocean, Arctic Ocean, then what do we have? Indian Ocean. We also have the Southern Ocean. So altogether we have 5 important oceans which are altogether known as oceanic water bodies, which are contributing nearly for 96.5% of the available water on the entire earth. Then the rest of the part of 96.5, the rest 4 point is there, that part is 2.5% of the water is the fresh water. The 2.5% of the water which is available for us is fresh water. Now, sir, we have a huge amount of water resources. In that, 96% is coming under the oceans. The rest 2.5% is coming under fresh water available to all people on the earth. Here we have a small twist. Out of this 2.5% of the fresh water which is available for us, this available 2.5% water, again among this 2.5%, 70% is in the form of ice. 70% is in the form of ice, like glaciers. These large glaciers are a part and parcel of the Arctic region and as well as the Antarctic region. Now, among the available 22.5% of the fresh water, this fresh water is stored in the form of glaciers at the places like, on the north we have Arctic, on the south we have Antarctic. So, in these two places corners we have the glaciers being present, which are also part and parcel of the fresh water which is available for us, which have a lion's share of the fresh water available in this world. And the rest 30% what we have is contributing for the underground water levels. So, the rest 30% is available for underground water levels. So, the entire water what we have can be categorized into three major categories. First one is the 96.5% is in the form of oceans, 2.5% of the entire fresh water on the earth. In that 70% is in the form of glaciers, 30% is contributing for the underground water layers or aquifers which are present under the layers of the earth. Now, when we take about the findings, how much was the availability of water for us? In India, we found that India receives 4% of the entire world precipitation. India receives around 4% of the entire world precipitation. What is precipitation? Precipitation is a process through which the water bodies are being heated up by the sun rays. The incoming solar radiation will be falling on the water bodies, which makes the water to evaporate from there and move on into the clouds, and then coming on, the clouds will be moving on apart. In the process of movement, when they are struck by the winds which are objected by the hilly regions or the mountain plains, when the movement of the clouds becomes difficult for them, they start to move above and go above from that. When this process of moving above than the normal level, the clouds will be moving into the cool place zone where the climate temperature decreases. With that, the amount of water vapor which is present in the clouds will be turning into water. When the water is heated, it turns into water vapor. When the water vapor is exposed to cool climate, then the water vapor will turn into water. So, the water vapor which is present in the clouds will turn into water, which in results the difficulty for the clouds to hold it much longer, which results in the process of rain. This entire process is called precipitation or rain cycle. This happens. So, in the entire world this is happening, that is precipitation. In that precipitation, India receives 4% of the entire world's precipitation by ranking herself in the 133rd place in the world. So, India is in the 133rd place in receiving the world's precipitation or the precipitation on the entire earth. And shocking news for all of us is India is a land where Himalayas are present for us, where we have the perennial rivers, where we also have the non-perennial rivers. Entire India, agriculture has been a dominant occupation, but still by 2025, many of the climatologists, weatherologists, meteorologists all claim that many parts of India also would be added to the list of the places where the availability of water is very, very less, or it may be like a semi-arid region. These all are real facts. We need to respond for this very fast. So let us find out in detail what are the situations that led India to be said that by 2025 India will be in the list of the places where some of the places in India will be under the non-available places of water. Now, as we have thrown light or understood the fact that the entire availability of water in the entire globe is 96.5% is associated with the oceans. There is 2.5, in that also 70% is being connected with the ice, glaciers and all. So we can generally assume that we have water scarcity. So when we know that we have water scarcity, we immediately need to take so the water scarcity automatically leads to water management. There is a need to have a water management. We already feel sometimes funny because today when we look at the availability of water in our neighboring places or in our household or nearby in our city or in the town or the village, where do you stay, you find abundantly water available for us. Abundantly means without any restriction for us. We get the available amount of water freely. We have a habit of wasting water very seriously. So this abundant availability of water may sometimes put into a confusion like why people are talking about the scarcity of water, because we have huge amount of water available for us now right now. How are people predicting that we are going to get into a situation where there would be a scarcity of water? The situation generally we feel that when abundant of water we talk about the word scarcity or non-availability. We generally assume to the places where we have dry lands, desert regions. We immediately get into the mind. What you are getting into your mind? Which state is coming into your visualization? Yes, right. The state is Rajasthan. Not only you, most of the people in India, when we talk about the scarcity of water, immediately they would get into their brains as if it was been an electrified bulb being switched on. Immediately they get into their brains flashing it that Rajasthan, and they remember a woman carrying an unearthen pots known as matkas. Taking matkas and carrying water from very long places and getting the water to fulfill their daily needs. So all these imaginations reveal for us to a situation like there is scarcity of water in India also. Yes, depending on the climatic condition, seasonal changes, what is the other different aspect we remember about the Rajasthan semi-arid region or arid region? Semi-arid region and low underground reserves. these are the exceptional features which bring change in any place where the availability of water becomes scarce. I am not talking only about Rajasthan, we are talking in a general conditions which can influence any place to be branded as a place where there is scarcity of water. So now, climatic conditions, if it is a very hot place, there is a possibility to have their difficulty of water availability. It's not always that the hot places will definitely have scarcity of water. For example, you take a country called Zaire. The country called Zaire is exactly located very close to the equator, and there you find heavy temperatures also. But daytime from 12 to 2 o'clock, it is extremely hot, very difficult to be there. And if you look at the African people, it's very easy for you to understand because their hair itself will be burnt and they have their hair very curled up deep inside. So these all possibilities and difficulties make them to understand the real problem of extreme heat. It doesn't mean that in Zaire we do not have water. In Zaire daily we get heavy rains, and the rivers which are flowing through Zaire will receive bulk amount of rainfall and frequent floods. Because of extreme heat, the precipitation will immediately result in relief rainfall, which creates relief for those people. So that is an example. But in a country like India, where we have states like Rajasthan, where the temperatures are completely dry and the availability of water in the underground layers also is very less, because it is being not used for agriculture and there is no process of reinstalling the underground layers of water into the deeper layers. These all possibilities made it very difficult for the places to do agriculture. So it has been turned into a semi-arid region, and here the rainy season is completely absent. You have 6 months summer extreme hot, and you have 6 months extreme cold winter. These all resulting in low underground reserves of water. These all possibilities have turned, there are some places which will result in scarcity of water. What are the other possible options that may change a place to become less scarce of water? Those options are over exploitation, over usage, unequal access to social groups, these three could also be the social factors which can be influencing a place from turning it into a fertile land to a dry land. Like over exploitation by a particular family or by a particular community of people, the water will be over exploited, resulting in the over usage of a particular resource. Any resource which can be overused will result into scarcity. Next, the unequal access to all social communities or groups. For example, we all know that in India is the only country where we have the caste discrimination. A caste discrimination mainly discriminates people from having common dining and also having access to public tanks. When the people of the lower caste or the untouchable caste or so-called Harijans were not allowed to access water from the nearby tanks, it automatically forces them to walk along from miles of kilometers to get water for them, which in turn results that the non-availability of water for the people. So these are some of the factors which are influencing a place to be called as a water scarce place. Let's find out some other facts. Now, we have discussed about the water scarcity. We all know that, let's take any city. We all feel that city is having full of water. Why do we feel like this, that we have full amount of water? Because today in cities we generally have an opinion that there is a bulk availability of water for all of us, either through by buying the water or by getting the water from the bore wells. But even in cities we have unequal distribution of water. unequal distribution of water. How can we say that we have unequal distribution of water? The unequal distribution of water can be clearly understood that only in the places where we have rich locality people or high profile people living there you don't find any scarcity of water. But when it comes to the chawls or the slums or the bastis, there people would stand in line to take drinking water. So it is very difficult for them to get even drinking water. It is very tough task for them to daily get drinking water also. So like that we have many places where it resulting in the unequal distribution of water. And that also, when we talk about the water, we all know that water is used mainly for two purposes. One is the domestic needs and for food preparation. When I say about food preparation, the way they wash the rice, they cook the rice. So for all these process and all, they need some amount of water. When I talk about the domestic needs, washing clothes, washing the utensils, washing the houses, for us, for our personal hygiene and all these things, we need domestically water. At the same time, for the preparation of the food also, we need the quantity of the amount of water. Now, in many of the advertisements, I think you all have observed that many farmers, many farmers have their own borewells. We see in the advertisements of Kumar pump sets and all these pump sets, where they keep the Kumar pump set machine, you get water abundantly from the underground water layers. So every farmer in a village, if he owns a borewell, what is the result of that? If all the farmers are able to access to borewells, borewell is nothing but digging water from underground layers. So digging the water from the underground layers to the upper part of the earth. So daily if they are digging the water which is present in the underground layers, that automatically would result in the ending up of the underground water layers. So when more number of farmers are digging from more number of borewells, that would automatically dig the more amount of water from the underground layers, resulting in the scarcity of the underground water levels available for us. So it is very important to check what is the situation of the city. And in the cities also we have the categorization where the high profile people do not get any much problems, but in the low profile regions like slums, chawls, bastis and all, they find it very difficult to get water. And we have farmers also contributing their own contribution by having more number of borewells and digging the underground water layers to a very large extent possible, and making their own significant contribution for the ending up of the underground water layers, resulting in the scarcity of the water. And now let's move on to the next part. It's called urbanization. What is the impact of urbanization on the underground water layers? When we talk about the urbanization, we all know that when we talk immediately about urbanization, we remember only one word, that is MNCs. When we talk about the MNCs, the multinational companies have given rise to the huge amount of opportunities for all of us. The lives of the people have been changed drastically after the entry of MNCs into our cities. Earlier, to earn salaries of 5 digits was a dream. Today, an young graduate can earn more than a 5-digit salary. That's how the MNCs have started to influence the lives of the people. And now moving on to our context of understanding MNCs. When we get the MNCs into the picture of urbanization, they already started to influence the society, because they also need water. Which category of water? Fresh water. because they provide opportunities for many people. So they need more number of availability of water resources, and not only the availability of water resources, they also need the availability of power. Power meaning electricity here. So the electricity requirement also has been increased with the urbanization and with the MNCs coming into the context of the common man's life. When we talk about these two aspects, we can analyze that water is also being a significant contributor for electricity by getting hydropower, hydroelectricity. Though the share of hydroelectricity in India is not so high as it is in the Western countries, in India we have 22% of the entire electric power generated. From that, 22% is being contributed from the hydropower projects in the Indian land. And these water requirement for the MNCs, power requirement for the MNCs, for the city life, for all the comforts, for all the modern equipments. Today you can't use even your mobile phone without having power supply. You can't use any laptop, you can't use any mobile phone, you can't use any of the gadgets which are of electronic use without having electricity. So electricity has become the utmost important requirement after water. The electricity is the most important requirement to the common people in the modern cities. So all these things made the water to become more and more scarce to a situation, because we also need to generate electricity from water. So like this, the water has been become a very, very important resource for all of us to think and to preserve it. And moving on to a different situation from here. Here, in the both the cases, it may be in the case of the farmers, in the understanding of the water management, or in the urbanization, people are the direct contributors for the scarcity of the water. People are the direct people who are making the situations to become worst, who are creating a situation of hazardous to the people. But now, we will move on to another situation where there is a huge availability of water in a place, but could not fulfill the needs of the people. How is it possible? There is a huge availability of water to the people in that particular place, let us call it as a city, but the people of the city do not have proper water. What is the problem here? The situation is, though there is a huge availability of water here, the availability of water is not sufficient enough for them to have a healthy life, because the water is being purely impure. There we have the mixture of chemicals, fertilizers and acids getting mixed into the water from various factories. This also has been a side effect of urbanization, industrialization. So because of this, though the water is available in full amount, because of the chemicals which have been added to the water, that is a danger threat to the people if they use that water. So in order to safeguard themselves from falling into the danger of the chemical spread water, they need to get water which is pure and safe from the other corners of the part of the city where it is becoming very difficult for them. So there are situations where water is present abundantly but could not be used for the daily requirements of the people. So there are various other phases of availability of the water also for us, and the bad quality of the water will definitely influence the health of the people. So after a thorough discussion, we can conclude this segment saying that this is the need of the hour. What is the need of the hour of the entire world is that we need to preserve water carefully. Water is a very, very important resource for all the human mankind. So we as a part of the human mankind community, we need to take a significant step to safeguard the water which is being like a immediate breath for all of us. If we don't safeguard the situation now, because of the actions taken or made by some of the people of the mankind, like the farmers doing their contribution, the industrialists doing their contribution, the urbanization resulting in chemicalization of the water. So all these things would definitely start to impact on the environment. Once the environment gets impacted, that results in the health hazardous situation for the people, and imbalance ecologically. When the ecological imbalance is being created, that can definitely affect the entire mankind, resulting in the devastating situations. So it is must and mandatory for all the human mankind to take significant steps to safeguard water and also to use water in a better way than in the present using situation. We need to save water. That is the utmost call of the situation and the hour of this period. Now we shall discuss about the multi-purpose projects. What is a multi-purpose project? And integrated water management. A multi-purpose project or an integrated water management system or a water resource management is nothing but how effectively we can use the same amount of the available water. We all know that from the ancient period onwards, we have a culture of building dams or the hydraulic projects. These dams may be the modern word which has been used for that, but the hydraulic projects is the ancient word which we have found at various places. For example, in history we have in ancient period also, that is near Nagarjuna Konda in AP, Sringavarapu in Allahabad, and also many canals are built by Chandragupta Maurya. So it is not a new theme for all the Indians or as well as the world. From the ancient period, we have a culture or a system of building hydraulic projects to save water or to channelize the existing water in a better way so that it can be utilized for agriculture, it can be utilized for irrigation, it can be utilized for providing safe drinking water. So in this thought process, the modernization has brought in more technology into existence to build all these things in a more effective manner. So for that, we now move on to the concept of dam. What is a dam? A dam is a place or a storehouse where the water will be used to fill we store water in the dams, that is used to fill the rivers, which in turn will be used for agriculture and domestic needs. So dam is a place where you get the availability of water. This water has been input into the rivers, and after sending into the rivers, that water has been used for agriculture by the people and also the domestic needs by the people. So people will have a better usage of dam water. It's not only this. What is an actual dam and how can we call this dam as modern days multi-purpose projects or an integrated water resource management? Why did we come a step ahead and say the same dam which is being used in the ancient period as a hydraulic projects, which are also used for almost the similar purpose in the similar lines, like to provide water for agriculture and also to fulfill the domestic needs? Then why are we reframing that one and calling it as a dam or a multi-purpose projects? The purpose is, in the ancient period or in the early of the 19th centuries, before independence, we are just using dams to store water. But today, we are using water for dams, especially for various purposes. First one, we are using the dams to store water, to preserve water. Second one, we are using water or the stored dams to supply water for electricity generation. This electricity generation can be done through hydro power plants. The hydro power plants will generate using the water which is stored in the dams, and the special important factor is that the water can be used n number of times to generate electricity which is stored in the dams. The water which is stored in the dams can be sent again and again in order to generate electricity in the hydro power plants. It's not only this, we are using for the regular purposes of agriculture, we are using for hydroelectric generation, power generation, and later we are also using water from getting floods. We are storing the places and stopping the occurrence of the floods by blocking the flow of the water by a dam, and also we act it as a barrier and provide water for inland transport. So, in this way, the water has been started to be used prior to this or in the ancient period only for agriculture or only for daily utilizations or domestic uses. But today, we are using the dams or the multi-purpose projects by building a barrier on the flow of the water. We are able to stop water, use it for rivers, use it for generating electricity, use it to stop floods, use it to act as a barrier and supply the water to the inland water channels so that we can also have inland transportation. So, all these things have been a major contribution. That is the reason why it is rightly called as multi-purpose projects. And Jawaharlal Nehru, the first Prime Minister of India, is also known as the architect of modern India, rightly remarked as the multi-purpose projects are the temples of modern India. So, as it was rightly remarked by Jawaharlal Nehru, we already discussed that the architect of modern India, the first Prime Minister of independent India, as soon as India got its independence, he focused on the development of multi-purpose projects. He also told that these are the temples of modern India which will give a significant contribution not only in the agricultural sector or not only into bring up the economy of the villages, but also it may give a boost to the urban economies also. Yes, what Jawaharlal Nehru said is 110% right. What he saw the vision was really true, because we in India we have many lakhs of villages. At the same time, we are fast growing country in the world or developing country in the world. We have many towns emerging into large cities. So, we have the contributions of the multi-purpose projects giving their significant contributions not only in the field of agriculture, but also in electricity, hydropower plants, and giving electricity to the large populated cities. But in the modern times, the large projects or the so-called multi-purpose projects are facing a severe criticism. Why are they facing a severe criticism? Earlier, they were considered as temples of modern India. But today, what made the temples to become impure to the people? We will find out. Now, understanding about how we have seen the multi-purpose projects, in the last few decades, they have come under severe scrutiny. Why? Why they have come under severe scrutiny? You all know that the multi-purpose projects have been brought under larger scrutiny because of the adverse effects which are being coming up after the period. Because prior to the India's independence, or in the initial phase of India's independence, as Jawaharlal Nehru rightly remarked that these are the temples of modern India, but today many people are not ready to go along with this statement. They started to question the credibility of the temples. I mean the temples and the dams. Dams, why are they not being answerable in a positive manner which they used to be earlier but not in the modern times? Because the dams are started to get into conflicts. The dams have triggered for social movements. Why? What made them to be like that? Because when we start to construct a large dam, you need to relocate a large number of people. When this large number of people are relocated, what is the possible alternative for them? And this has triggered to a larger movement. And let's move on to this one. But prior to this, we also have some issues regarding to the dam settlement, is that poor sediment aquatic trouble, then spawning, no free movement, so we can jot out like this many points in regards to the dams. When we talk about the poor sediments, the sediment layers of the waters or the reserve soils which are present nearby are being collected by the dams because of the overflow of the water. The second one, aquatic life has been brought into trouble because of this construction of the dams. And later, even when it comes to spawning, because when a dam is constructed, we all know that water will not be allowed to pass from this side to the other side. Most of the times water will be blocked and again resent to the same purpose. So if any aquatic life which is present this side is not allowed to move to the other side will definitely result in the loss of this particular aquatic life. So this has been a seriously issue concerned when it comes to environmentalists, and this has been very strict and severe when it came to spawning, and this is not allowing any kind of free movement of the ecological balance to be maintained by having the aquatic life moving freely from the other end to this end. This has been triggered to a very larger environmental decay because of the dams. And after this, when we move on to the previous part where the relocation of large number of people has triggered on the Narmada Bachao Andolan. When a dam was proposed to be built on River Narmada, the tribal communities have started to ask why we have to leave our homeland, especially the forest lands, and move to the upper elevated lands. What is the possible benefit for that? Yes, it has been explained rightly by many of the NGOs and all, explaining that this would result in a triggered larger development of the nation and also for all the people, but this will definitely bring many of the larger villages under the influence of the dam, resulting in the flooding of these dams, where the people cannot stay here, so they need definitely to move from this place to the other place. So this has went on to a very larger scale momentum, and this Narmada Bachao Andolan on the construction of the dam, Sardar Patel Dam, which has been Sardar Sarovar Dam, has been triggered to question the then Chief Minister of Madhya Pradesh and Gujarat, asking that what is a necessity to displace our lives and to give better place for us, because actually we do not know anything to do other than living in the forest, and we consider forest as our motherland. We believe as forest is our mother. She takes care everything for us. But when we leave our mother and we go to somewhere else, how can we be happy? So these kind of questions were being posed, and finally it resulted in asking to an ultimatum saying that why only we are being selected to sacrifice for the benefit of the nation? Why not the larger community people of the other castes or other groups? These all later on gave an idea for the people that yes, there may be a problem in the large constructions like dams also, because it's not always been proven true that there it has been a successful to a very large extent. Interstate disputes started to emerge outside. Interstate issues between one and the other states, this all has been serious concerns on the multi-purpose projects, and it is a bit astonishing, but it is a fact. We need to understand this one. Like when a dam is being constructed, suppose this is a dam where you have a large wall and the flow of the water has been triggered like this. Dams are actually constructed to stop the floods, because the entire flow of the water would be collected here. But because of dams also floods started to come, because regularly when the water is coming and storing here, the underground parts of the water of the dam is being filled with the sediments, the soil and all these sediments. So because of that, the capacity of the storage of the dam is becoming less. Earlier it used to be till here, now it became less this part. So when it became less here, it resulted in the capacity to become less and overflow of the water, that again started to get floods. So we actually built dams to save ourselves from floods, to stop the floods, but dams itself started to trigger in some situations to generate more amount of floods. And not only this, in the multi-purpose projects, not only floods, they also have destroyed the entire life of the aquatic life, the sediments, the soil conservation, the soil silt which is fertilely present on the nearby fertile plains start completely disturbed there, and the natural fertilizers which are present in the land also got disturbed, and this resulted in the degradation of the environment. The complete environmental degradation has been triggered, and some of the studies have also been proved that these multi-purpose projects have induced earthquake effects also, reasons to have an earthquake also. So these all are the other side angles of the multi-purpose projects. So we need to seriously take all concerns to discuss about anything. We cannot simply say that this is the best. First, try to understand how is it, what is a dam, how the construction goes on, what are the effects, positive effects, what are the benefits that we get, and then what are the negative implications that are being triggered because of the construction of the large scale dams. So in the previous part of this unit, we have discovered and studied about a dam, the benefits. Now we have discussed about the cons of the negativities of the dams. So what are the possible natural alternatives to safeguard ourselves and our nation? We have seen all the negative impacts of the multi-purpose projects. That's the reason why the multi-purpose projects have been brought into larger scrutiny. So now, as a situation is, we need to save water. That's for must and mandatory, what we have discussed in the initial introduction of the lesson. So in that process of having this understanding, now it is must and mandatory to save. So this alternative of multi-purpose project is not proved to be so successful. So what is the next viable alternative? Most of the people in India have started to trust on rain harvesting, rain water harvesting. Rain water harvesting. what is this rainwater harvesting? Rain harvesting or rainwater harvesting is the most viable means or the best alternative for the so-called multi-purpose projects negative impacts. Here you do not find any kind of negative impacts coming into the scene or the picture. So what is this actually? But before going to this one, let us try to find out the traces of the rainwater harvesting system in India. In India, the earlier generations of people have to be accepted that they are having wide understanding of the nature far better than us. That is the reason why they have always maintained the ecological balance. They always have dug the tanks, the canals, and filled the tanks and canals with the rainwater, with the flood water. And when we have any mountain streams or the mountain hilly regions, when there is a flood like situation or when there is a heavy rainfall situation, they always had diversions on the mountain. When the water flow is going like this, if it is going with a heavy speed, they used to divert the water flow so that the speed will be reduced. These diversions are called kulls or gulls. These gulls or kulls have contributed large to maintain the ecological balance. The tanks, the underground layers of the water will be filled with the rainwater which has been filled in the tanks, which slowly gets evaporated into the underground water layers. So they always maintained the ecological balance with a foresightedness. Now understanding what is the rainwater harvesting system. On the top of a house, which are having little bit slided, so that the water flow will be slided, and then they have a connection of the tank which is built in the courtyard. From the top of the roof of the house to the courtyard, they have a pipeline connection. So through this pipeline connection, the water which is being dropped on the top of the house will be collected at the corner of the house opening, and from there a pipeline will carry the entire water downwards into the courtyard where the tankas are built or the tanks are built. Tanks in the olden days known as tankas. These tankas will collect the entire water and preserve it in the underground waters. These tankas are actually do not collect the first showers of rains which rain in that particular part, because they feel and they believe truly that the first rains are always impure. They may have some impurities mixed in that. So after they are sure that the first showers have gone, from the next showers they collect the water and they preserve it under the tankas. The other specialty of the tankas is that the tankas are, aside these tankas, the underground rooms are built to save themselves from the extreme heat of that particular place like Rajasthan. So they are having two benefits. One is they are saving the underground water layers. The second one is they are also saving themselves from the extreme heat of the sun or the summer in the Rajasthan like states. Now let us know about the dimensions of tankas. Tankas are actually having a length of depth of 6.2 meters and a wide of 4.27, well in the width is 2.24 meters. So in this it is a well planned structure, 62 meters length, then the breadth 4.27 meters, and the wide of that is 2.24 meters, so that you can collect the entire water, and once the water has been, the rains have been passed away and the water reserves are becoming less, then definitely they would start to use the water which is preserved in the tankas, and this is the most fresh water what they can get. And the sad news is that in many of the places in Rajasthan, the use of roof water tank saving system has becoming declined because the perennial rivers, the perennial canals which are continuously supplying water for them has made them to decline this practice, but not in all parts. In some parts they have seriously used this one. Even though we have the perennial canals, those who do not like the tap water taste started to use this water purposefully and save the ecological system. And it is not only in Rajasthan, we find it in many parts of Mysore, Karnataka and many other parts of Tamil Nadu also. For example, what is the larger benefit that we get if every household starts to use this rain water or roof water saving system? What is the larger scale benefit? Because in the introduction of this topic, we mentioned that it is a viable alternative for a multi-purpose project. A multi-purpose project can provide water for huge hectares of lands together, lakhs of hectares of land, water can be provided. Then how can this be a viable alternative for that? A small example will definitely justify this one. If you take a place where we have for 1000 millimeters of land, 80% of it is collected and 10% is being saved, resulting in 50,000 liters for every household. If every household saves 50,000 liters per annum, then if 20 households average is taken, you get more than 1 lakh liters of water. So this 1 lakh liters of water collection is being done without using any machines, without using any kind of chemicals, without using any kind of electricity, which is definitely a viable alternative where you are saving electricity, you are not spoiling the nature, you are not creating any imbalance in the system, or you are not getting any ecological delay or decay happening for the nature, and you are not posing the environment to go into a hazardous situation. So definitely this is a viable alternative. The roof water collection system has been made must and mandatory by only one state in the entire India. Though India have 29 states and the 7 union territories, Tamil Nadu has been the first state which made it compulsory to have the roof water saving system, and also made certain legal provisions stating that if any particular household fails to do or implement this, are liable for punishment legally. So this is an awareness which has to be brought to the people to bring this rooftop water saving system and to save them and to give their significant contribution to save the nature and also to save the country and also to maintain the ecological balance. So in this unit we have understood what is a water, why water is a resource, why we need to manage the water resource carefully. Though we have 3 parts of the entire 4 parts filled with water, what are the factors or how water has become scarce though available in plenty or abundantly, and what are the viable options for that, how it was considered, how we have to save our planet, how we have to save our country, how we have to save our villages, how we have to save from environmental degradation. All these factors have been discussed detailedly in this unit. Now I believe you all have got a thorough idea on what we call it as a water resource, and the best viable alternative for multi-purpose projects is this rainforest harvesting system. Why we call it as the most viable alternative is that because using of this one, you do not create any kind of ecological imbalance, you do not create any kind of environmental imbalance, because you are just collecting the naturally occurring rain to save underground water layers, and you can also use this underground tank to fill the underground water layers also by keeping small holes to the tanks, and if necessary you can reuse this water again whenever you need it. So in this way, you can also do a larger contribution to save the nature and also the country.
If you like this video, please give a thumbs up. Please subscribe to our channel to get more videos on CBSE syllabus.